Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. This is No Money, No Problems, Start Automating with PowerCLI. My name's Scott Driver. What we're going to walk through today is kind of how you can manage the life cycle of a VM with PowerCLI. Everybody knows the disclaimer. A little bit about me. I do stuff, I write stuff. Actually, I have a giveaway at the end, so I'm going to leave this up for a moment. Anybody who retweets blog posts I'm going to post after this or gives me a follow, I've got a giveaway. And most importantly, my son made me promise to tell you all that my favorite color is blue. So kind of want to lay the groundwork for where we are today. In IT, in technology, there's always some wave sweeping through. And if you think back, client-server fundamentally changed things. Virtualization, I would argue, changed not just IT, but technology as a whole. And we've certainly seen the disruption over the last few years of cloud. So we've all been hearing the term DevOps for a number of years now, and it's still being implemented. People are still picking it up. And I think part of the reason why is people look at it as tools and frameworks versus a culture. And we're not going to go into the culture bit for now because I have 10 minutes to talk to you. We can talk for hours. But what happens with a lot of folks is because they focus on tools, they can get a bit confused by the landscape. And you probably recognize a lot of these elements. So that kind of fear and unknown can have folks just jump straight to a tool rather than looking at what they're trying to achieve. So with that, I would argue that folks aren't using PowerCLI enough to start automating their environment. The reason why it makes a good DevOps tool, again, putting aside the culture, is that one of the fundamentals of DevOps is that you want to play nicer. DevOps is development and operations. It's not one or the other. Being based on .NET Framework means your developers will like it. They can keep writing code. They can make it modular and portable. And it's an easier entry point for sysadmins operators. But that modular and portable code also allows you to go faster. You can reuse items. A number of the examples I'll show you are snippets from reused code. But you can go faster too in that you can get up and running quicker. Learning is expensive. Learning takes time. And if you were to think back to the jumbled slide of the various DevOps framework tools, they may be free, but they take time to get up and running on. Whereas I think anyone who were to pick up the snippets from this could walk out of here today and start writing PowerCLI code. So that being said, go right into some examples. This first one is a very simple script where we're creating a VDS. And any automation should be speeding up the actual operations. And what you see with this one is in about 8 seconds, we've created a VDS. Now, if you think about the time it would take for you to do that manually via the UI, it would take you well more than 8 seconds just to get logged in. But beyond that, what you get is standardization, repeatability. So you can take this same concept and go from VDS, you can apply it to your iSCSI clusters, your clusters, whatever the case may be. So moving on to day 2 operations. I mean, this is what the foundation of what VMware is here for, running VMs. This is actually how I got started writing PowerCLI code, is automating our VM deployments. So here's another simple example. There's a bunch of items hard-coded in there where we're creating an OS customization spec. And then we can actually create a temporary spec within the session to customize it for our particular VMs. Then we loop through. It's not a terribly elegant example, but you can, again, go back to the standardized, repeatable way of deploying VMs. make it a little more elegant and a little more friendly to your developers, PowerShell gives you the option to use things like JSON or XML natively. So they can define what their environment what they want their environment to look like, and you can just run it through your script. So in this example, we're just pulling a JSON file with some parameters and again, looping through and building the VMs. I'm going to pause for a second before going on to the next thing. I've written multiple posts about invoke VM script. It's my favorite commandlet. And if you're not familiar with it, what it allows you to do is you run a command within the context of your VM via VMware tools. So if you start thinking through that, it can become very powerful very quickly. So this code snippet is an actual piece of production code. And I don't know if you can read that top comment there, but when I put this into production, I just wanted to call out to folks, this is a hack. We had to get something done, install a specific version of .NET framework. So walking through it, that top install script code block, and all of these code snips are going to be in the blog post that's going up momentarily, so don't worry about capturing this if you caught my blog URL. Basically, we take a code block and then we pass it through invoke VM script, and we're writing to a PowerShell script on the VM. Then we go back and we use invoke VM script again to call the PowerShell script that we just wrote. It's like Inception for PowerShell. It's very powerful, but I will warn you, because you're running commands within the context of the VM, there's also security concerns. So you have to think through the security elements of how and who you're managing your VMs. And it's day 2, so you have to know how your environment's running. So this is a pretty simple example of how you can leverage the base commandlets with the PowerCLI modules to pull the statistics out and create a pretty report for your executives or your management just to show how your environment's running. So then, coming to D-Day, like this presentation, all things must come to an end. So on this last example, we're going to use the module for VROps, pull some different statistics out. If anybody's used VROps, probably the first thing you ever checked was the oversized VM report. So in this snippet, we're actually going to go and pull one of the metrics that's used in that report, do some simple mathematic equations on it just because it's a demo. And then if we cross a certain threshold of how oversized you are, we're just going to pop the machine. So you can see there, if it's powered on, we don't really care, so we're just going to hard power it off. And then go on and remove the VM. So what you can see going through these examples is really the power and extent of what you can do to manage your environment with PowerCLI. So with that being said, there's a lot of really great sessions this week. This is just kind of a taste. If you're new to PowerCLI, I would suggest going to the PowerCLI 101 session on Wednesday with Jake and Kyle. They're going to help get you up and running. If you're still around Thursday, we're doing a PowerCLI, Kyle and myself, where we go a bit deeper into the concepts, and it's going to be a really demo-heavy presentation. And then when I first started writing PowerShell, someone put the book Learn PowerShell in a Month of Lunches into my hands. That's what I have to give away to someone at the end of this. And that's my blog and my Twitter. So thank you guys for coming. I hope you got something out of this. Have a great conference.